Do y'all remember just a few days ago when everybody was really freaking out about Steve Bannon's interview with The Independent, I believe, where he was saying, oh, Trump is going to be president in 2028. Now, Steve Bannon is like a career propagandist and obviously a liar and a complete grifter, right? He was guilty of taking money that Donald Trump's loyalists donated for building the wall and, spending it on himself and his buddies. And it's only because Donald Trump pardoned him that he is still out there grifting today. But just a couple of weeks ago, he said this.
He's going to get a third term. So Trump 28, Trump is going to be president in 28. And people just ought to get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States. And the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will.
Yeah, okay, that's enough of that. So, Steve Bannon doesn't believe for a second that Donald Trump is God's instrument, God's ordained, but it's like he cracked open a copy of Jesus and John Wayne. A+ do recommend that book, by the way, if you want to understand MAGA Christians. But it's like he cracked open that book and was like, oh, yes, they do believe that he's God's instrument. They do believe that bad men can be doing God's will, that he gets to be imperfect. He gets to be the naughty one who has affairs and diddles teenage girls. He gets to be the one who grifts and who doesn't pay his electricians and his landscapers. He gets to be the one who creates fraudulent charities, who sexually assaults women in dressing rooms, right? He gets to be all of those things, and that's okay. We'll give him a pass because he's doing God's will. Steve Bannon knows how to grift, man. He knows how to speak right into the hearts and minds of MAGA white Christian nationalists. And not even white Christian nationalists, just American Christians who have gone down the alt-right pipeline and been radicalized by QAnon. But just a couple of days ago, in October, he was confidently spewing this rhetoric. He was doing what I like to call future faking. I didn't coin that term, but I think enough people are ignorant of what it means. I'm just going to keep using it until it is more common in the discourse. Future faking is when a narcissist or a con man, a grifter, a would-be autocrat tries to make you think that he gets to write the future, that he has already predetermined the future. He has scripted it all out. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. There's nothing you can do to stop him. And you should just accept. He's already written the future. You don't get to write it. The future is determined. But that's a lie. That's a technique that they use to get you to comply in advance by fooling you into thinking that the future is not unpredictable, that the future is already laid out, when in fact, the future is entirely unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen, and we get a hand in shaping what will happen. So they know that we can shape what happens. They know that we can change the course of history if we choose to act. So future fakers try to trick you into thinking that they've already set the course for this nation and nothing can deviate it from that course. That you should just not even bother trying because it's already inevitable. Trump's future is already inevitable. Steve Bannon was future faking here, trying to tell people Donald Trump is going to be president in 2028. It's almost like a really toxic version of name it and claim it, of manifesting. But the universe isn't going to provide. They're going to try and demoralize you into being so passive and compliant that you end up not having a say in what happens in your future because you freely ceded the future to Donald Trump. That's what Steve Bannon is doing with this rhetoric. He's trying to set the expectation. No, Donald Trump is going to be president and you can't do anything about it. And then, of course, he throws in a little sprinkle there of it's divine will. It's not fucking divine. Oh, if everything is divine will, what happened this week on election night, Steve Bannon? And speaking of, it just took that one thing. I don't want to say just that one thing, y'all. It was a really significant, multiple layers of things, right? Election after election after election. Prop 50, all of the races in Virginia, the gubernatorial race in New Jersey, Zoran in New York City, races in Mississippi and Pennsylvania, measures on ballots in multiple states that sounded a lot like socialism to the ears of your average Republican. Yep, passed. Election day 2025, hugely consequential, massive repudiation of Trump, Trumpism, and what the Republicans are doing. And suddenly, y'all, after that one night, well, Steve Bannon, he's not sounding quite the same as he was with this like lean back, confident swagger. Donald Trump will be president. It's God's will. Everything that's happening is God's will. So suddenly, this is what Steve Bannon is saying.
And I will tell you right now, as God is my witness, if we lose the midterms and we lose 2028, some in this room are going to prison, myself included.
Oh, we know, Steve. We know. Y'all better be shaking in your boots. Because there will be a day when the restoration of the rule of law happens. And based on election night 2025, that day is coming sooner rather than later. Your misdeeds are going to catch up with you. All y'all ICE agents, all of y'all in the Republican Party who betrayed your constituents, betrayed the Constitution in order to bootlick for Donald Trump. Every individual or business who grifted off the American taxpayer, who grifted off of brutalizing immigrants, pillaging our public lands, cutting healthcare and necessary services for Americans. Even the uber-conservative six on the Supreme Court with their fringe unitary executive theory who are trying to make Donald Trump a king in this country. The restoration of the rule of law is gonna catch up with y'all. Whether that means an expansion of the court, whether it means term limits on Supreme Court justices, what that means in terms of the legal processes that happen after all of this, there must be justice for what is being done now. And Steve Bannon knows that. He thought he would escape justice. He was hoping he would escape justice. That's why he was trying to future fake everybody and be like, no, Trump's going to be in power forever. These days aren't going to come to an end. That's definitely not why we're building a bunker under the East Wing. Okay, maybe that's been a little bit exaggerated, but I know that people definitely, they hear bunker, they see the way that Donald Trump is going like this, and they're just thinking I'll like follow the Third Reich scenario. I get it. But how swiftly the confident blustering of this regime changes. Yeah, they are now in earnest trying to cheat for the midterms because they know it's going to be a fucking tidal wave and they're going to get swept out of the way. Then I'm just going to continue this awkward metaphor. They're going to get caught in the nets of justice. We, the American people, are going to make sure we're not willing to let bygones be bygones. We can't pretend none of this period in our history ever happened. We must pursue justice aggressively, tenaciously. A huge part of the reason we're in this position now is because Merrick Garland and Joe Biden did not do that. Because too many establishment politicians just wanted to pretend that all of the terrible things that happened in Trump's first term, everything that happened on January 6th, that it was less than it was, right? There was so much head in the sand, so much revisionist history, so much like, oh gosh, it's too hard, you guys. It's too hard for us to face this as a nation and work through it. No, now we have to. After all of this is over, there will be a period in our history. We, the people, have to make sure that that period comes to pass. Because remember, Donald Trump doesn't get to write the future. Steve Bannon doesn't get to write the future. The future is unknown, but if there is something we want to bring about, then we have to actively work for it. And if we want justice, then we have to make sure that we advocate, set the expectation. Hey, we can future fake as well as they can. We have the expectation that there will be justice in the time to come. And now we have to work to make sure that we bring it about. Unlike Steve Bannon, who just wants to demoralize people into giving up so that they can steamroll ahead, we are going to work to make sure that the American people are on board, partnering with the justice system, actually restoring a functional justice system, that we're working together to demand, to insist, and to bring about a reckoning, and I mean that in the fullest sense of adherence to the rule of law, a desire for restorative justice, because an awful lot of people that are being so injured by this regime right now, they need recompense. They need to be made whole. They deserve far more than we could ever give them. But we're gonna have to make efforts to make things right. That's gonna take a long time. It's not gonna be pretty. It's gonna be painful for all of us to face it, but it's gonna be a necessary process. I firmly believe that. Steve Bannon doesn't want to face that period in time because he knows what side of history he's on. I do think it's so interesting how quickly he's changed his tune. And let it be a lesson to us not to let them future fake us. We stay the course. We know what kind of world we want to build. We know what kind of justice we must get and what kind of a society we want to create. We need to stay that course. And when the fascists have big scary rhetoric like Steve Bannon did a couple of weeks ago, we don't buy into it. We say we know where we're going. They don't get to steer the ship. We've got work to do. And while we're working, they can be quaking in their boots.